This is a Storm 5 alert.
Good evening. We have a tornado warning in effect for Franklin, Lincoln, and Moore County. This is right along our southern border that touches Alabama. And that warning is in effect until 12:30. So we've got roughly 30 minutes or so left with this. There is a potent line of storms connected to that tornado warning. It's the thin red line that you see on the easternmost edge of the rain that's blanketing a good portion of the area. Clearly, our biggest concern right now is this tornado warning. At this point, the concern is near Fayetteville. So the center of the circulation really is in the central portion of Lincoln County, and it's moving incredibly fast. So this will move into Moore County, that's where Lynchburg is, and then would likely impact the northwestern portions of Franklin County. That's just west of Winchester, just west of Estill Springs. If the circulation can hold together, Tullahoma may potentially be in play with this. So let's take a closer look at where that circulation is. At this point, I know you're seeing a couple different boxes here. The yellow colors are severe thunderstorm warnings. So there are 60 mile per hour, even upwards of 70 mile per hour winds possible to the north and south of this circulation. The concern for the circulation is right here near Highway 64 and 231. So we're going to put a storm track on that. We'll take it down to street level. Again, this is moving at 50 miles per hour. So what I need from you is, if you are in the area of this warning, your primary job is to move into the safest location in your home. That is the lowest, most interior space. Think about putting as many walls between you and the outside. I don't want you to panic, but I want you to walk swiftly and calmly. And as you walk to that spot, close the doors behind you. Every door you close in your interior portion of your home adds to the safety of you in your safe spot. So the concern for rotation is right where you see this red and green really close together. It's right here. So it's right near the 231, just south of Highway 64. We'll back it out quickly so we can put a storm track on this. You just saw a radar sweep go by too, so we're looking out of Huntsville's radar. And what that means is that the red is wind moving away and the green is air moving towards the radar. So that's what indicates that rotation. Here's a look at a storm track on this. Again, moving very quickly. Let me adjust it already for you. Moving very quickly to the northeast. Puts it into Mulberry at 12:11. Puts it into Gaddistown at 12:14, 12:15. So thinking about 10 minutes, less than that, 8 minutes. Puts it into Marble Hill at 12:20. And again, Bakertown, right around that 12:20 time frame. So as far as the rotation threat, downtown Fayetteville is in the clear. So what that means is that areas within this box, that is not the concern for rotation. The concern for rotation is right here. So it's just south of Highway 64. Let me take this down, see if we can get some streets to pop up here so that you can see some of the streets involved in this area. Not a ton popping up at this point. Let me pull it up on a different map. So this would be in between the area of Kelso and Mulberry. That would be just to the north. This is near Elk River. This is near Rambo Road, just north of Riverdale Farms, right about Fayetteville, Tennessee. This would put it just east, right along Highway 64 there. There's a Best Western, there's a Hampton Inn, and the area of concern would be just to the south of that, just to the south and southeast of that. So right here, just west of Douglas. Again, some other kind of noteworthy milestones in this area. We've got Gregory Design and Manufacturing. We've got a Dollar General that's right along Highway 64. Moving off to the east, there is, as you move up Highway 50, essentially Lynchburg Highway, that would eventually take you towards the Lynchburg area. Now, I mentioned that there are severe thunderstorm warnings associated with this tornado warning as well, so I want to back that out really quick, because often when you get circulations like this embedded within a really potent line of straight line wind, so the rotation is right here, sometimes you can get really strong winds that wrap around the backside of this and create an even larger area of straight line wind damage that can be upwards of 1,000 feet, a couple thousand feet, maybe even 1,000 meters, just to the south of this. So the rotation again just moved, so it's near Highway 64, but it's possible we've got 60 to 70 mile per hour straight line wind that's swinging around the backside of this that would cause even more damage. My point in mentioning that to you is that if you are in any of these warnings, whether it's the severe thunderstorm warning or the tornado warning, I want you to treat them both the same, because we just saw a few weeks ago, straight line wind can cause as much damage as rotating wind. It doesn't always get the same fanfare, but it deserves the same respect. And it can be the same kind of threat to your home, and we want you to be safe. So at this point, rotation now moving again east of Fayetteville, and the track of this would take it into southern portions. This is Moore County right here. This is Franklin County. So if that circulation can hold together, and currently Moore County is within that tornado warning, it would involve areas in Lynchburg, areas south, Estill Springs, stretching down towards Winchester. Those would be the spots to watch. Now, I mentioned this is a part of a kind of broader line of strong storms. I want to show that to you as well because it has been a noisy night, and we've received lots of folks asking, like, what? It still sounds like it's just coming down in buckets out here. So the area where you're going to find the strongest winds is this narrow line, which is also what's responsible for the tornado warning across our southern tier. There were some severe thunderstorm warnings for areas north of Fayetteville, so for areas north of that line, those have been allowed to expire. So we actually don't have severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for our Kentucky tier. So that means we have not hit, just for your knowledge here, the definition of a severe thunderstorm is 58 mile per hour winds or higher. So while the wind is still very strong, 40 to 50 miles per hour, it has weakened below that severe criteria for portions of Clinton and Cumberland County up in Kentucky. That's the area I'm pointing to with this arrow. Dipping further to the south, Clay, Pickett, Jackson, Overton County. I know it's noisy outside. It's coming down in buckets, very efficient rainfall rates, and some 40 to 50 mile per hour winds, but there are no warnings in effect there. Same thing, Cookeville. I know it's noisy outside. There are straight line winds in your area, but they have actually weakened since they moved into the western edge of Putnam County. This stretches south to the eastern portions of Rutherford County and McMinnville. Taking a look at just the warnings, areas in green up to the north and west, that is a flash flood warning because of very heavy rain that hit areas northwest especially. There was morning rain and lunchtime rain up there, which really primed the ground. So at this point, we have 3 warnings in effect. We have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings and 1 tornado warning, and it is for our southern tier. So again, main area of concern here for rotation is still in Lincoln County. It's just east of the Fayetteville area, so it's right here is where we're concerned about this rotation. As far as where it's going would be Moore County and then potentially the northwestern portion of Franklin County. If it could hold together beyond that, the extra precious gift of time, we're talking Coffee County. Down the pipeline for this cell would be portions of Grundy County and Warren County. That's not to say that it will continue to rotate as it moves in that direction, but like I mentioned earlier, I want you to treat this like it's a severe thunderstorm warning, and I want you to treat it with that kind of respect. And if you've got that extra gift of time, that's precious. You don't want to waste that. So if you know someone that was maybe out ahead of this, maybe in Coffee County, Grundy County, portions of Warren County, you can be that extra critical voice that calls them and says, hey, you've got a dangerous storm moving towards your area, or maybe even someone who is driving along Interstate 24 near the Pelham area. You don't want to be on the highway with this. Here's a look at the timing of the center of that cell and where it would go even beyond that warning. So again, whether it remains rotating, we'll have to watch and wait, but it's not going to fall apart completely. So timing on this puts it into Winchester just after 12:30, 12:31. The warning is set to expire at 12:30, so we'll see if it can sustain itself. Hopefully it doesn't. Cowan right around 12:40, Summerfield 12:55, and then it would be Tracy City closer to the 1 o'clock time frame. So let's go back and get another look at the storm since we've had a couple updated radar scans. It's looking a bit broader at this point. It was looking healthier when it was closer to Fayetteville, but there's still a pretty good signature right here. So now it's just southeast of Mulberry near Highway 50. As far as areas that would be here, Crystal Ridge Church is in that area. Jared and White Cemeteries are also in that area. Right along Highway 50 is where you find a couple businesses. There's a Barnett's Motorcycles just up the way. If it can hold together, that would be near Woodard's Market and Deli. As far as other landmarks in that area, it would be just north of the Elk River to kind of give you a visual of where this is. Taking a look as well, we'll take a look at the shear signature here. And you can see it really did start to pick up as it moved towards Fayetteville, but has begun to lessen. And I can explain that. What those colors represent is quite literally how much wind shear the radar is picking up. And shear is wind spinning. It's wind moving in different directions. It's the wind churning in the atmosphere. So when the storm was near Fayetteville, it was picking up, and this is about 1,000 feet off the ground, around 35 miles per hour of wind shear. Well, now that it has moved a little bit further to the east, like I said, it's broadening a bit, not completely falling apart. That wind shear down to about 25 miles per hour. So I would like to see it drop off a bit more, but I like the trend, and I hope that this trend continues. Not to tell you to not take this seriously, not to tell you to go outside. Clearly, it's after midnight on a Friday night. This is not the time to try to get a peek at what's going on in the sky right now. The area of concern for rotation now is mainly on the eastern edge of Lincoln County moving into Moore County. So here is an updated storm track with the latest timing for you. Again, remaining within a severe thunderstorm warning as well. That severe thunderstorm warning is for 60-mile-per-hour winds. And the tornado speed, or at least what the radar is picking up as a possible tornado, is moving east at 40 miles per hour. So let's back this up, take another big look at this, and then we'll zoom in just a little bit tighter. And I also want to give you just a big picture of when this entire line is expected to start to move out of our area. So we've got that line of storms with very strong wind with it. It extends from Franklin, Moore, Lincoln up to the north. Right now, the worst part of it is east of Fayetteville. It's in between Highway 64 and Highway 50. So it would be in this zone here that we would have the strongest winds and potentially some rotation. Backing this up to the big picture for folks that are still dealing with very, very strong wind out there, this is moving. The entire front edge of this line is moving so fast, it's going to be gone in the next 45 minutes. So we really are closer towards peaceful conditions and giving that precious all clear for everybody. Take a look at wind speeds right now. Upwards gusts around 30 in Nashville, gusts up to around 40 in Crossville. Fayetteville sitting at 31, but look just to the south in Huntsville, 53. So we are still having kind of some variable wind gusts with this cell, with this line of storms that's moving through. It is a cold front. It's not a very cold front, but it is a front. And the wind, we knew that the wind was going to be the biggest concern with this line tonight. And that has hands down predominantly been the #1 threat with this storm system as it's moved through. So quick look at the storm track on this for folks that are dealing with it from north to south. So for the northern flank, again, this is not meeting severe criteria, but it is still quite strong, around 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts. This would put it in Rickman essentially right now, putting it into Nancy at 140, putting it into Pine Knot at 208, putting it into the London area well after 2 o'clock in the morning. That's outside the News Channel 5 area. So let me move this down just a little bit and redraw it for you. So as far as the Putnam County portion of this storm, including Cookville, so this would take it through Overton, Fentress, portions of Cumberland County, basically along I-40. Cookville, I know it's very, very noisy outside. It is gusty straight line wind. It's not rotating. It's not going to rotate. Mayland, right around 1242. Clark Range, 1248. Putting into Lansing, again, that's outside of our area. That would be around 2 o'clock in the morning. The line has weakened as it's moved through. The National Weather Service, out ahead of this, has gone ahead and issued a severe thunderstorm watch for counties just east of ours. So they are still anticipating that these storms are going to be noisy and pack a punch as far as the wind goes, but they're not expecting it to bring the same rotational threat that our southern tier really saw earlier today. There were significant tornado warnings this afternoon across portions of Mississippi, portions of Alabama. This is the first tornado warning that we have had this evening. As far as the track of it, it is moving more to the east, so it looks like it would stay in that southern 2 tiers. So if you're further north than that, I'm not expecting anything to rotate for you, but it is still very, very windy. And we all saw just what strong straight line winds can do from the storm that we went through just a couple weeks ago. So this is a look at the storm track. This takes it to Crossville at 1258. This puts it in Dunlap just after 1 o'clock. Again, that's just kind of right outside our area. That's right outside Grundy County. Sparta, 12:30. It's going to be very noisy in McMinnville here in the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. Again, straight line wind. And what's left of the storms that are in Lincoln, Moore, and Franklin County will be closer to Chattanooga well after 2 o'clock in the morning. We're talking 2:30. Now, I mentioned the watches and warnings that are in effect right now. The areas that you see shaded in the lighter red, that's a tornado watch. The National Weather Service, I expect, is going to clear these out pretty quickly. The tornado threat is over for Rutherford and Bedford County. So this will clear out. This yellow shading that you see here in East Tennessee, that's the severe thunderstorm watch I was telling you about. So we do not expect the rotational threat to continue very long. That being said, Moore County, the southern portions of it, now dealing with that tornado warning. Lincoln County, you remain under a severe thunderstorm warning. Same thing, Franklin County. You remain under a severe thunderstorm warning for 60-mile, potentially even 70-mile-per-hour winds. They just recently cleared Giles County from that tornado watch. Here's another look at that storm system, and we'll take it in a little bit tighter to take a look at the rotation within Moore County. At this point, I think we can give Fayetteville, downtown Fayetteville, the all clear. It doesn't mean I want you to go outside and check for damage at this point, because if there has been some damage, none has been reported. But I wouldn't want you to put yourself in harm's way, and first responders need to be able to get out there and do their work. But Fayetteville proper, so central portions of Lincoln County, that rotation threat is gone. At this point, the threat for straight line wind and or rotating wind has almost completely exited Lincoln County. The strongest winds right now would be right here where I'm pointing this arrow. The concern for rotation would be in the southern central portion of Moore County, and we'll start to cross the border into Franklin County here shortly. We'll take a look at those wind signatures again. I know the red and green can be a little intense on the eyeballs, but that is quite literally how we look at the direction of the wind and what it's doing. So backing this up so you can kind of see the history of this. As it came out of the Fayetteville area, we started to see an indication of some rotation. So I want to back it up so you can kind of see that. So remember, we were watching it right here. That's where it started. Now, if you keep your eyes on those pixels and we watch it move forward in time, you can see how it went just south of Highway 50. Now it's just to the east of the Mulberry area. Again, becoming a bit broader. The rotation signature has now passed just south of Lynchburg. So Lynchburg, I'm going to say that that rotation threat has moved south of you at this point and has just about crossed the border out of Moore County into the northwest portion of Franklin County. So this is now just west of Estill Springs. So the area of concern is right here as far as that rotational threat. But again, I know. Tornadoes get all the fanfare. I fully expect this area right here, right along the edge of where you see this red and green, to have some incredibly strong straight line winds with it. Same thing just to the north side, but typically when you get a rotation signature, the wind that wraps around that, whether or not it's touching the ground, sometimes you get rotation just in the upper levels, tends to kind of create a swath of straight line wind back on the back side of it. Just a few moments ago, you just saw another updated scan there. We were showing you the shear associated with this, so basically how they see that kind of churning motion in the atmosphere. Starting to fan out a little bit. We're still looking at an indication of maybe 20, 25 miles per hour of shear being picked up. Again, we're looking at the Huntsville radar here, so that is about 1,000 feet off the ground. So we haven't seen much change here in the last few scans, but that also means we haven't seen much intensification. So at this point, would I prefer that we not have any rotational threat? Absolutely. Will I take a weakening trend? Yes, I will take it. So we're still looking at a tornado warning now. The National Weather Service out of Huntsville has extended this warning until 1 a.m. for Franklin and Moore County, but they have released Lincoln. So Lincoln, as I was saying, you're essentially in the all clear at this point. It is still raining. It's still very, very windy outside, but that rotational threat has now moved just east of you, and the rotational concern with that storm is actually picking up some speed. So the forward speed of the storm now around 50 miles per hour. The concern here would be just to the west of that Estill Springs area. And I know I left this shear track so you can see that new warning has just come in. It does look like it's starting to wrap back up again just a little bit. See how the blue popped up right here on the edge of Moore and Franklin County? That would indicate a bit more shear starting to form with this. So let's take a look at that on radar again. So again, Lincoln County, I know it's pouring and it is a howling wind on the east side, right near Flintville, but your rotation threat is over. Same thing, Moore County, this has now crossed just out of you. So Moore County, Lincoln County, you're clear as far as a rotational threat. Franklin County, you're the ones that I want to be taking those safety precautions as this storm moves. So the rotation right now is right here. You can almost see almost like a little notch just underneath the S in Estill Springs, to help you kind of identify this. That's our concern. That's the area of concern for rotation. So let me take this down a little bit further. This is just west of Highway 41, just west of Estill Springs. And I'm going to say if you're in Estill Springs or you know anybody that is, you go ahead. I want you to calmly move to that lowest, most interior space. A lot of homes don't have basements, but if you don't have a basement, there are still other good options to choose. Sometimes it's an interior restroom. Sometimes it's a hallway. Sometimes it's a closet under a flight of stairs. You just want to pick a room that doesn't have any windows. Worst comes, even a hallway in the central portion of your home, and just shut your interior doors as you go to that space. That can really make a terrific difference in setting you up and your family up for safety here. So area of concern for rotation has passed Brownington. So Brownington, I'm not worried about rotation for you. Some roads in this area: Highland Ridge Road, Alexander Road, Little Hurricane Road, Riddle Road, Honey Lane, Wyota Ridge Lane, Heather Way, Eastbrook Road, that would be a little bit further down, Hasty Lane. It's essentially this area right here that we're concerned about for rotation. So that's right on the southern portion of Hasty Lane. Going in just a little tighter, and then we'll back it up, kind of give your eyeballs a break so you can just get some of the streets, and then you can get some context of where this is. Metcalf Road, Sarvis Branch Road, Cherokee Trail, Little Hurricane Road. As far as where this would go beyond, so folks that maybe have an extra couple, 2, 3, 4 minutes, that would be Heather Way. That would be Eastbrook Road. That'd be Rock Creek Road. Westwood Lane. Again, we're all talking Franklin County at this point. Tyson Drive, Cindy Hollow Road, Walter Lane, essentially areas along Highway 41. That would be our biggest concern. Taking a look at the wind signature here. The National Weather Service will remove, so the warning to the west of it will drop in the next 4 minutes. This one right here. So I know technically it still looks like Mulberry and areas Lynchburg. This box right here still looks like that warning in effect. That warning is done. Pay attention to this one. So this one right here that stretches a little bit further, and this is the area of concern right here that we're watching. So if you're west of this, like I said, Moore County, I'm not concerned about rotation for you. Lincoln, I'm not concerned about rotation for you. It is northern portions of Franklin County that we're watching the closest at this point. Near Timms Ford Lake, it was about 7 miles northwest of Winchester when the National Weather Service updated this just a bit ago. So taking it back down, and just to show you, sometimes it's easy to see these things when you back it up so you can kind of see the history of what it was doing. So as we watch that rotation, signature kind of tightened back up a little bit as it was moving west of Estill Springs. Taking a look, I want to see kind of how that shear track is starting to evolve, and it is starting, it looks like it might be pulsing a little bit. Sometimes rotating storms do this, where they'll tighten up just a little, and then they'll become a little bit broader, and then tighten up just a little bit, and that's what this one is showing some indications of. So it tightened up as it was near the Fayetteville area. We had some additional shear there, and then as you see the colors kind of drift down to a purple, and we lose the blues, then you saw it perk back up again. Now it's becoming just a bit broader, so we're seeing kind of an uptick and a downtick. So that tells me that this is a storm that potentially might be pulsing, meaning, like I mentioned to you earlier, sometimes we get rotation in the upper levels of the atmosphere, but it doesn't always make it down to the ground. And sometimes when it does make it down to the ground, it doesn't stay on the ground. It can lift up a bit. So Estill Springs remains the area of greatest concern at this point. I'm going to slow this down because I know it's fast to watch that radar move so quickly. It's north of Winchester. Again, no other concerns for rotation along the leading edge of this line. At this point, the greatest concern is just south of Estill Springs, right along Highway 41, so it's right here. And we'll take that into street level here in just a minute to make sure that you've got a good sense. This is basically in between Winchester and Estill Springs. As far as roads here, Highway 41 is really smack dab in the middle of this. That's our biggest concern right now for rotation. Back behind it, we do have very, very, very heavy rain, but the greatest concern is right here. And within about a minute and a half, you're going to see that warning that was just to the back side of it drop off. So big picture, if you are in the southern portion of Franklin County, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning. So that's this area right here. That's where we're looking at 60, 70 mile per hour winds coming from this southern kind of portion where you see this just bold, straight red line. So this right here is what's going to move into southern portions of Franklin County, eventually over towards Chattanooga, but it's not rotating. The concern for rotation is north. So it's between Estill Springs, right along Highway 41, near Highway 50. I think at this point we can go ahead and say that the rotational threat is clear for areas just west of Estill Springs. So this area right here, right near the Moore County border, I think is an easy way to say that. We're not looking at a rotational threat. At this point, it is in the north central portion of Franklin County and will continue to move to the northeast. And it actually looks like it's picked up some speed here. This looks like it will pass just north of the Sewanee area. I have a good friend that lives there. What's left of this storm, if it can continue to rotate, does look like it would move into the southeastern portions of Coffee County, potentially the western portions of Grundy County. I'll take a storm track on it and put it a little further out to you. So the area of rotation, if we're to take this again, this is not to say it's going to rotate on its entire journey through this area, but this would be the path that it would take. So it puts it into Hillsborough at 12:47, Altamont, 1 o'clock. This warning is set to expire at 1 o'clock. So we'll see if it can maintain that kind of rotational intensity to it. Curtistown, 118, White Hill, 124 would be the long-term track of where this cell, this particularly problematic little cell, has been causing mischief. Now, just north of it, Manchester, I know you're getting pounded with heavy rain right now and unbelievably strong wind outside. Not a terrific amount of lightning with this, but there are a couple claps out there. They have been quite noisy, so it's possible that you're hearing some of that as well. We'll take a quick check, see if there's any hail that's been showing up with this. We really haven't seen much tonight. So that is some good news since we've got a multitude of other threats that we're dealing with across the area right now. National Weather Service, like I said at 12:30, that the tornado warning that had initially been issued for Lincoln County, gone. So Lincoln County, you are officially all clear. We have one tornado warning, and they're starting to trim down those severe thunderstorm warnings as well. So that tornado warning for Franklin and Moore, that's until 1 o'clock, although the rotational threat has left Moore County. So while that eastern edge is still technically included in kind of the edge of that rotational concern, the rotation has moved east of you. It doesn't mean it's not so very windy, 40, maybe even some 50 mile per hour wind gusts out there, but the area of concern for rotation is right here. So we are not looking at that being a big problem. It's funny, it's just as I said that the National Weather Service canceled, this is the National Weather Service out of Huntsville, they canceled the warning for Moore County. So they're seeing the same thing I'm seeing. We are on the same page. That warning has been canceled for Moore County. So Lincoln, Moore, I love giving good news. You are in the all clear. Franklin, you are not in the all clear just yet. So we're going to stay with this until we make sure that this rotation signature has fallen apart. That warning has been continued until about 1 o'clock in the morning. It is near Winchester. Like I said, it has picked up some forward speed. That's why it looks like it may even try to hop its way out of Franklin County before we can even get to 1 o'clock in the morning. At this point, it's 12:32. But let's go ahead and put an updated storm track on that for you so you can kind of see what's going on. The area of concern now north, it's essentially just west of Pelham. So it's right here. that we're concerned about, so just east of the Estill Springs area. And we are going to put a storm track on this, taking it out just a little bit. And I'm going to take this out actually even further so you can kind of see where the rest of this storm system is headed. Initially, this was moving at 40 miles per hour, and now it's up to about 50 miles per hour. And the greatest concern for rotation is near the Deckard area, as it's moving just in the northern portions of Franklin County. So storm track on this, timing on it puts it into Pelham right around 1242, Altamont 1256. And then if it can hold together, again, this puts it just outside the News Channel 5 area, but it's going to be really close to that southern edge of Grundy, kind of southern edge of Van Buren County. We'll take another look at that shear signature, see if it's trying to pulse on us a little bit. I know you've got a lot of data on your screen right now. So at this point, it does look like it is still maintaining some strength as it's kind of moved, and it looks like there are two areas that are sort of impacting that northern portion, kind of by Estill Springs. You see the sort of draped out area of purple and blue. That indicates some churning in the atmosphere. It's not a slam dunk to mean that there is rotation happening, but it tells us that the atmosphere has that churning component to it. It has that urge to spin, right? That urge to churn. The concern right now is right here, kind of on this little sort of notch area. So at this point, the rotation signature Estill Springs, it's east of you. Not worried about you. Deckard is the area that we're under the greatest concern just about a moment ago, so right along Highway 64. So areas of concern now. It's tough when they're moving this fast. Deckard, Highway 64, in between Greenhaw and Gum Creek. This takes it up Highway 64 to the Alto area. Essentially where this rotation is, it's this area right here that we're concerned about. Very heavy rain stretches from Capitol Hill back towards Highway 41, towards Myers, towards Eastbrook, but the rotation signature is really north of that. So again, folks in the Deckard area, we'll take this down to street level. Gum Creek Road, Raymond Cowan Road, Knight Road, Oak Grove Road. We want you to go ahead and take those safety precautions. Knight's Church Road, the area of concern has moved east of you at this point, but I still want you to take this seriously. Windle Lane, just because there's likely still some straight line wind that's getting wrapped around this area of concern. Rutledge Hill, Prairie Plains, Betsy Willis, that would be well ahead of this. And you just saw another updated scan there, so we're seeing that notch kind of start to become a bit more pronounced. Just along and north of Highway 64. So as this continues to update, like I said, we're seeing these come out of the Huntsville area. That's what gives us that indication that we've got some churning, right? Some spinning with the air here. It's right in this territory. I'm actually going to see if I can force the radar to switch me back to Nashville's radar. Let's try to pull this out just a little bit. The closer you are to a storm, the different level of the atmosphere you're looking at. So Huntsville's pretty close to this. Nashville is a bit further away. You see the colors change, right? Because it's from a different perspective. Red is away, green is towards. So you see that change just a little bit as we move it. It's this territory right here, right by essentially now just northeast of the Deckard area. So this would be taking it honestly out of Franklin County probably within the next 10 minutes or so, just based on its forward speed. We'll take it in just a little bit tighter here because at this point, once it moves out of Franklin County, it moves back into Nashville's area. So there are different offices that warn for our entire area. Taking a look at the Nashville Weather Service, they have released more counties from the tornado watch. That's the lighter red shade that you see there. So it's always important to give those precious all clears. DeKalb County, Cannon County. I know it's pouring outside and it's still windy, but your severe threat's done. Rutherford County, Bedford County, all clear. Giles, everybody that's west of basically any color that you see on this map, right? So areas that stretch down to Bedford, Giles, down to Wayne, up to Callaway, all across our northern tier, that's all clear. You are not going to get severe weather tonight, so you can rest easy. It's still pouring. Some streams and creeks may not be as neatly tucked into their banks tomorrow morning as they should be because of the heavy rain that we saw, and it'll stay breezy, but your severe threat is done. So White, Van Buren, Warren, Coffee, Grundy, you remain under a tornado watch until 3 a.m. Hands down, the National Weather Service will be able to cancel that earlier because these storms are going to be gone within the next 45 minutes, hour or so. Moore County does remain under a severe thunderstorm warning. That's the brighter yellow. Southern portions of Franklin, severe thunderstorm warning, and the northeast portion of Franklin. So that's near the Deckard area. That's where we've been watching that tornado warning. It's moving north of Sewanee. So Sewanee, I'm not expecting that rotation to impact you. If this rotation can hold together, it would be southern portions of Coffee, right around that Coffee-Grundy County border. So near kind of the Pelham area that we would be the most concerned about. There are a couple reports of some hail coming out of Franklin County at this point, hail around the size of a half an inch. Also getting some reports of some confirmed 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts out of the Franklin County area. That entirely aligns with what we're seeing here. So that makes a lot of sense to me. At this point, that concern, that kind of notching is now starting to move towards the border of Franklin County. So kind of just north of Sewanee, near Interstate 24. And you've heard me say this a lot. Interstates are not where you want to be in severe thunderstorms, and certainly not where you want to be if you find yourself within a tornado warning. Vehicles are not safe. If you or someone you know, or if you call someone and they're like, I'm on the road and I don't know what to do, the very best thing you can do is to pull over and get into a sturdier shelter if that's available to you. I know this particular areas you're coming either towards Chattanooga on I-24 or towards Nashville. There's not a lot of places to pull off there. So if there are not any exits readily available and you really truly do not have an option to get into a shelter, the best thing you can do is to stop your vehicle, leave your vehicle on in park, and crouch your head down and cover your head with your hands. You want to leave your vehicle on so that the airbags hopefully will still deploy. Some vehicles are different as to what the criteria is that makes them trigger. You want to leave that seatbelt on. You want to capitalize on the safety options that you have within your vehicle. So at this point, Estill Springs rotation threat over. Winchester over. Areas along Highway 41, not worried about rotation for you. The strongest part of this storm is now in the northeastern portions of Franklin County. It's essentially where you see this, it almost kind of looks like a little flexed arm when you look at it on radar. So that would put it near Petty Branch Road. Let me stop this for you so it's not so noisy. Right here near Wilder Chapel. So we've got some fresh streets, we've got some fresh neighborhoods that are potentially being impacted here. So we want to take it and give you an updated look at really where the strongest portion of this is. Pelham and along Highway 41, I want you down in that interior space. You can turn the volume up really loud on your TV, and as soon as I can give you that all clear, I will. But get into that interior space, let the worst of this pass you. Folks along Highway 24, again, we want to avoid travel at this point. Taking it down to street level, the areas of concern here are Sherrill Road, Petty Branch Road, Sims Lane, Coker Road, Rutledge Ford Road, Henley Lane, Boyd Road. As far as the very strong winds, Petty Branch Road, near the Alto area would essentially be just east of that, Wormwood Lane, Old Pelham Road, Sanders Road, Rourke's Cove Road, Henley Lane. These would all be the areas that we're concerned about. And as far as where it would be going next, it really looks like what's left of this storm is going to hug that Grundy Coffee County border. It has weakened just a bit, so as it begins to move out, I know it's hard to see the warnings with this, as it moves out of Franklin County and into the southern portions of Grundy County, because that rotation signature has weakened, the National Weather Service is choosing to extend the warning for this as a severe thunderstorm warning, not a tornado warning. They're extending it as a severe thunderstorm warning with the note there that it is possible we could see some rotation. So for folks in Grundy County and the extreme southern portion of southeast Coffee County, I want you to just go ahead and stay in that interior space. Treat it like it's a tornado warning, because since this thing has kind of had a history of pulsing and tightening up a little bit, becoming a little bit broader, tightening back up again, it's not something to play cat and mouse with. Let's just go ahead and be in our safest spot. And again, you as our partner here in the Middle Tennessee community, if you know someone anywhere from Beersheba Springs, basically to the southern portion of Grundy County, they might be sleeping. And if you can call and wake them up and let them know, hey, you've got a pretty potent storm on your doorstep, you may be that critical voice that helps get this messaging to them if they're not connected to us right now, if they're not connected to News Channel 5. So at this point, that rotation is just about left Franklin County. So I think the majority of Franklin County is just about in the clear here. The greatest concern for rotation now near the Monteagle area, which that's a treacherous road to try to kind of climb up and in and out of as you're headed in that territory on Highway 24. So we want you to go ahead. There are some shelters there that you can take. Red Roof Inn is in that area. There's a Quality Inn, even gas stations. They're not the sturdiest of structures, but if you can get inside and get interior, it's still safer than a vehicle. Smokehouse Lodge and Cabins. There's a couple restaurants just to the west there on Highway 41. There's a Pilot Travel Center. I've stopped at that one quite a bit with my family. So really just using the resources and the environment around you to help set you up for safety is your very best bet here. Straight line wind still remains the primary threat along the leading edge of this storm. But like I said, we've seen significant concerns for some kind of pulsing rotation on the southern flank of this. A real quick update, because I want to talk to the folks that are still getting stormed on as well that might be thinking, what about me, Bree? It's so noisy outside. The worst of it has cleared our Kentucky counties. The strongest portion of the line now for northeastern portions of Tennessee is right near Pickett County and in Fentress County. So Overton, the southern portion near Clark Range, yeah, it's still very noisy. You've got a good couple claps of lightning there, pouring rain. But this should be out of Fentress County within the next 15 minutes or so. Cookeville, worst of it has passed you as well. We'll scoot just a little bit further south, let folks know what to expect here. Again, this is kind of the southern portion of Overton. This stretches down towards Sparta. Cumberland County, it's going to be noisy for the next 30 or 40 minutes or so. It's not severe. It has not hit that magic 58 mile per hour threshold, but it's definitely packing a punch. Some 40 mile per hour winds possible with this. Crossville, that puts it in your neck of the woods just after 1 o'clock in the morning. Looking just a little bit further to the south, we're not going to take it all the way to that warning in Grundy just yet, because I want to talk to the folks in McMinnville. I want to talk to the folks that are in Van Buren County, because the strongest winds are headed towards you. Here's a quick look at timing. Like I said, with this thing moving at highway speeds, it's really going to be gone in the next 20 to 30 minutes or so. Just checking some of the information here from the National Weather Service. Some good news for Franklin County. We can go ahead and give you the all clear. That tornado warning has been canceled. So Franklin County, you are in the all clear. There are some damage reports that are starting to come into the National Weather Service. So at this point, I do want to just really reiterate to you, don't go outside. It's dark, it's pouring rain. I don't want you to put yourself in a position where you might encounter any sort of danger outside your home, whether it's a down power line or branches down. You're not going to be able to see it. It's raining too hard. It's still too windy. So go ahead, let that storm pass. The area of greatest concern right now is completely out of Franklin County. So there are no tornado warnings in effect for the News Channel 5 area. The severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for Grundy County. The greatest area of concern is right here just on the western edge. At this point, it is broad enough that we do not believe that the tornado threat has persisted, but it is something we're going to watch very closely. And regardless of whether or not this tries to rotate again, and I assure you, we will make sure that you know if it does, it is packing very, very strong straight line winds. We're talking 60, potentially even a little bit stronger than that, straight line winds across the area. So the strongest part of this now east of Pelham, it's near Payne Cove, south of Elkhead. Bergmantown would be getting some of the strongest wind from this. You just saw an updated scan go through. I'm going to check that rotation one more time, and it is definitely looking much, much broader, especially as it's kind of completed its journey. Look how messy that looks on here. Wind speeds are still very strong, and I'll tell you, even as the storm system exits, I fully expect the wind to stay quite gusty, even into the evening hours. It's calmed a bit in Dixon and Camden, but if you look out west towards Dyersburg, there's some stronger winds, honestly, back down toward Memphis. And that energy will likely nudge up just a bit during the overnight night. So even if you hear some gusty wind, I want you to know that our severe weather threat is nearly done. There are no tornado warnings in effect for the area right now. We do have the 2 severe thunderstorm warnings that include Grundy County and Franklin County. We also have the flash flood warnings in effect until about 3:30 in the morning for our Kentucky tier for areas shaded in green. But at this point, we are winding down, and the majority are in the all clear. I'm going to go ahead and send us back to programming because that tornado warning has been canceled, but I can assure you we have an absolute eagle eye on this storm. And for folks in Van Buren, if it even begins to tighten up the tiniest little bit, we're going to hop right back on and we're going to make sure that you know about it. We should be able to give the all clear for everybody in the News Channel 5 area within the next 15 to 20 minutes. So I know this has been a long, weird day weather-wise, especially if you've been with us all day, but we are just about on the edge of this, and the weekend looks great. So stay safe. Like I said, I'm going to keep a close eye on this, and if anything were to become dangerous, I will hop on right away.